The biggest reason why people don't successfully achieve their fitness goals is not due to lack of time, money, energy, genetic endowment, but due to a lack of decision. Professionals have the ability to utilize their skills and expertise to empathetically lead someone to a decision that affords them a greater quality of life. Many people, rather than risk taking action in the directions of their goals and highest aspirations, spend their lives getting ready to get ready. You'll encounter two types of people on a telephone inquiry: suspects and prospects. According to the trans-theoretical model, there are 5 stages that are intimately involved with someone's preparedness to make a decision. Stage number 1 is pre-contemplation. This is when a person has no intention to change at the moment whatsoever. Stage 2 is where the individual contemplates a change, but is not currently exercising. They haven't really gotten around to taking action. And stage 3 is preparation. This is where the individual is willing to take action to bring about the change that he or she desires. Stage 4 is action. This is where a person is already engaged in exercise. And finally, stage 5 is maintenance. Suspects are individuals who inquire about training, but they reside in either stage 1 or stage 2 of the trans-theoretical model. They're just seeing what their options are. They're more curious than serious. Prospects are people who reside in stage 3 or higher within the model. They have a specific desire or a specific problem that they're looking to solve. Or they have a specific area of dissatisfaction that they're looking to alleviate. Your job in an inquiry is not to make a sale. It's not even to solve a problem, yet. Your job is to see if you can connect well enough with the person on the other end of the telephone, or in some cases right in front of you, well enough to help them make a decision. The decision is not whether or not they're going to buy training, not whether or not they're going to join your facility or do an orientation process with you, but just to see if they're going to take the next step to determine whether or not you're capable of offering them a viable solution. This could be an orientation, but then again, it could be just another conversation. It could be an assessment. But the key is, it is a distinct next step that allows you to identify their needs and thereby demonstrate your value. The purpose of an inquiry is to obtain a yes or no. Don't become anxious about which is better. A yes can be just as good as a no. You're simply looking to extract a decision. Keep in mind the equation SW to the 3rd power. Some will, some won't, some wait. Next. Think about the last time you were in a restaurant and you were there with a bunch of friends. Maybe you were sitting around a table in a circle. The waiter comes around and offers you coffee. You all accept. Well, about 15 minutes later, the waiter comes back around and refills your coffee cups. So he might come over to one person and pour a cup of coffee. You might say thank you. Waiter then goes on to another person. They nod their head and signal, I'd like more coffee as well. So the waiter pours another cup. As the waiter's going around the table, imagine that one of your friends at the table puts 2 fingers over the coffee cup. That means no thank you. Does that waiter get all flustered, storm into the back of the kitchen, grab a hold of their manager, and say, you told me to go out there and help as many people as possible. Well, that person out there, they don't even like my coffee. They rejected my offer for a refill. I guess I'm just not cut out to work here anymore. No, they don't do that. Why? Because they don't take it personal. That's why. It's not uncommon for a fitness professional to destroy an inquiry, not because they didn't have the proper expertise, but because he was over anxious. When taking an inquiry, see it for what it is. It's an inquiry. This is precisely what you were made to do, to connect with people, to build rapport, identify what it is they need related to their fitness goals, and then offer them steps to getting there. It's what we do. We need to recognize that the person on the other end of the telephone is probably just as much, or in many cases, far more nervous than we are. Their anxiety is a product of being outside their comfort zone. See, if we focus on anything else other than how we can serve the best interest of the person on the other end of the phone or in front of us at this present moment, we do nothing but add to his or her anxiety. Therefore, if we want to master the inquiry, we need to master our emotions. The more confident, empathetic, and resourceful we are, the more success we have. This requires detaching from the outcome so we can be in the moment. don't concern yourself with, am I being well received? Is this call going well? Are they going to come in? Do you think they'll join? Am I getting this? That's all not irrelevant right now. All of those scenarios are taking place in the future. The person you're on the telephone with needs your assistance right now in the present. For some fitness professionals, it helps to just imaginatively project ourselves into a different circumstance. For example, you can imagine that you're a world-class fitness expert and you've agreed to generously donate your time to a nationally broadcast radio show. That's going to give people the opportunity to call in and seek your direction and seek your advice. Well, if you were a world-renowned fitness expert and you were sitting there right in the studio at this moment, what would your posture be like? What would your facial expressions be like? And what would your tone of voice be like? How confident would you be that you had the resources to help the person calling in? Would you waste time wondering what the person on the other end of the telephone calling into the radio station thought of you, or if they were going to take your advice or reject it? No, you'd be self-assured, you'd be focused, and most important, you'd be present. Have you ever called to inquire about something, got off the telephone without purchasing anything from the company, or never even felt the need to call the company again? Well, did you purposely reject someone? No, you made a decision or didn't make a decision for your own reasons. The reality is, no matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to convince everyone on an inquiry to take the next steps towards the fitness and wellness goals. If everyone took our advice, doesn't it make sense that everyone would be actively engaged in exercise and enjoying a better quality of life? Of course they would. So why don't they? As the legendary speaker and philosopher Jim Rohn says, I wouldn't sign up for that course. Don't waste your time thinking about things that really don't serve you and help you get better. Think of people like bananas. Now, I didn't say people are bananas. I said they're like bananas. Imagine you're in the grocery store and you're shopping for some bananas. And you turn around and you look at this beautiful, ripe, yellow banana. And you say, well, that's perfect. What would you do? You'd grab that bunch and you'd put it right in the basket. But let's say you needed even more bananas, and the next batch of bananas you came to, well, they were green, meaning they weren't ready at the moment, but given time, eventually, they'll become ready just like the ripe yellow bananas. But as you kept walking and looking for more bananas, you came across these rotten, spoiled bananas. Well, you would never put that in the basket and go, well, I'm going to make you turn into a beautiful ripe banana. You would just leave it there and keep moving. So think about it like this. Some people who you encounter on an inquiry, everything you say is going to make sense to them because they're ready at that present moment to receive what you're offering. Other people, well, not so much. They have questions. They're going to need a little bit more nurturing, but at some point, they might be ready to get started with you or come in to see you. Other people, not meaning they're rotten people, but they're like the rotten banana. There's nothing you can do. Your best chance is to be polite, professional, and simply move on. So join a new client procedure when you're handling the inquiry. Is there enough connection? Because if there's not rapport, there's probably not going to be an appointment. Don't try to sell anything over the phone because someone logically cannot make a decision on personal training as personalized of a service as it is over the phone. So therefore, don't try to get them to buy it over the phone. Get an appointment. It doesn't have to be a session. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't give too many of those away for free. Not a good business plan. It's a next point of meeting. It's a fact-finding mission, as a matter of fact. This is simply a chance where you can sit down with the person, see what they want, offer some solutions, and determine together whether you're dealing with a suspect or a prospect. As with anything in our role as a fitness professional, the more rapport you have, the more effective you'll be. When you're answering the telephone, you want to be enthusiastic. You want to be warm, to the point, and get the other person's first name as soon as possible. An example could be, hello, thank you for calling PTA Global. This is Robert Capuccio. Who am I speaking with, please? See, that way, you're on a first name basis as soon as possible with the other person, and that goes a long way in building rapport. Next, you want to take control of the conversation and start gathering information as soon as possible. It'll sound something like this. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for calling us today. How may I help you? When you ask that question, often you'll get such responses like, well, I'm just shopping around and I just want to know your prices. Now, all of this may be true. However, when was the last time you just called a series of hardware stores, not because you needed tools, but because you had an insatiable curiosity as to what the going price of hammers was that week? Unlikely. Have you ever wondered why strangers meet each other and the only thing they talk about is the weather? Hey, sunny day out today, yeah? Oh yes, but I think we're getting rain later on this week. Wow, that's fascinating stuff. How is it as people we're not able to come up with anything better to talk about? Well, I'm sure we have better things to talk about, but we talk about the weather because it's a point of commonality. It's something that we both know, we understand, and share information on. So we're just using it to try to connect. When you randomly meet someone, you just have no idea about any other points of commonalities, but you can always talk about the weather. Same thing with an inquiry. The person on the other end of the phone, they have a reason for calling. They're not just making a prank call, they're not randomly wasting time, but the problem is they're not experts. You're an expert. So the only reference point they know about is how much things cost. So we're not saying that an inquiry about price is not valid, but what we are saying is that before value is established, price has little relevance. Would you call a car dealership and ask, well, what's the price of your cars you got over there? And when the person on the other end of the phone says, well, which model are you inquiring about? Would you say, anyone, doesn't matter, just curious? No, of course not. You would need to know the type of car that you were purchasing or interested in purchasing. Therefore, you're able to establish a reference point for the value of how much the car is worth versus what they're asking. So when the person on the other end of the phone asks a question like, well, how much does this cost? I'm just looking around for prices. Move past it initially with something like, that's a very good question. Would you allow me to get to that in a moment? Another good question to ask is, how did you hear about me? Or if you're working within a company, how'd you hear about us? This question is important for three reasons. First, it allows you to determine which one of your outside marketing initiatives for you or your company produced the inquiry. It also lets you know if the call was a result of a referral from one of your current customers. In that case, you would want to get more referrals, and how you would do that is by recognizing and then in some way rewarding that behavior. And finally, it's a low-pressure question that just gets the other person talking. Another question is, are you currently exercising? Now again, we're just looking on the inquiry for a yes or a no to this. If they say yes, here's some questions you could ask. What type of exercise are you doing? Are you enjoying it? What type of benefits are you receiving? If one thing about your exercise program could be different, what would it be? You want to know, do they participate in any athletic exercises? Are they an athlete, either competitively or recreationally? Is recreational activity something they're interested in? What excites them about their current exercise program or about the prospect of exercising? You know, what excites them the least? What do they not like? The reason why you go through these questions is because a good predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Another thing that you really want to find out is, have they been a member of a health club or do they belong to a health club? Never ever criticize your competition. It's important that you don't for 4 reasons. 1, it is completely unprofessional. As a matter of fact, it's tacky. Number 2, if you criticize the competition, you're criticizing the judgment and competency of the person on the other end of the phone in selecting a fitness resource that's right for them. They may hate the club they're at. They may drive past their facility and get physically nauseous because they hate the club and they hate the staff, but they did make the decision to join. So more often than not, rather than agree with you, if you say something negative about the club they work out at, they'll defend their decision. This is going to break rapport, and guess what? It's going to kill the inquiry. If they are not happy with their current facility, then it's very possible they're also not confident in their ability to make a good fitness-related buying decision. This is really not good for you because that increases their reluctance to come in and speak to you and move to the next step in the conversation because they already know they messed up making one decision in the past. let me take my time and be a little bit more apprehensive the second time around. Not where you want them. So number 4, if you bring up anything, they probably won't respond well. But if they tell you why they don't like their club or what's really not working well, they're literally giving you a blueprint of what it is that you need to demonstrate, as well as what you need to convince them will never happen to them in your facility. You can't ask for a better situation than getting someone to talk to you in a conversation that allows them to feel safe, confident, and not judged, and tell you based on past experience exactly what they liked, exactly what they didn't like, and then you could duplicate that in the future. Here's a bit of advice. You can usually overcome all of this by shopping your competition. Go out and visit clubs in your area. Now, when you shop your competition, have a mindset of complete respect for your competition. It doesn't take much of a professional to go shop your competition, walk in the door, look for weaknesses, and then walk away feeling justified about your superiority or the superiority of your company. See, because when you do that, you're likely to become complacent. And complacency is eventually exploited by competitors in the marketplace. Rather, what you're going to do is go to your competition, just for a workout, just for the day, and try to look around and see what do they do really well. This is not only going to help you to improve your performance, but it's going to allow your prospects to open up and honestly tell you what they've experienced. Remember, if they're making an inquiry, odds are their experience is less than perfect. And you can tactfully probe for areas of dissatisfaction with something like this. So, Joe, you're working out at Superfit. You know, I've been there before. I really like that club. It's clean, it's a beautiful facility, it has a really friendly staff. Now don't get me wrong, I have to be honest, I am biased because I do think we are one of the better service providers in the area, but that's a really great facility. What made you decide to join there? What you've actually done is you just complimented a past decision they made. It's a rapport builder, and it also enhances their level of self-assurance. It also decreases their resistance to you because you just demonstrated honesty. People expect you to put the best possible spin on your company and a less than flattering one on that of your competition. In their book, Yes, 50 Proven Ways to Be Persuasive, Cialdini, Goldstein, and Martin point out that in the United States, Progressive Auto Insurance has grown on an average of 17% per year for over a decade. Their annual premiums have gone from $3.4 billion to $14 billion. How did they do that? Well, one of the ways they did that is they list their pricing alongside that of the pricing of their competitors on their website. Now, they list the attributes that their competitors have even when their competitors' prices are clearly less expensive than their own. But the honesty in which Progressive communicates with their customers often makes them the clear choice in the mind of the customer. Because honesty means trust, and trust means peace of mind and security doing business with you. So visit your competition, look for what they do right, and this will allow you to communicate with absolute integrity with your clients and your prospects. So here's a couple of questions you could ask. Have you ever been a member of a health club previously? Point out the positive of the club. Why did you join that club? What about the facility did you enjoy most? And if you don't mind me asking, just out of curiosity, what prompted you to call us? The last question is a prompt for them to share with you some possible areas of dissatisfaction. Next step in the inquiry, shift the conversation off the competition and on how you can help them. What goals do you have over the next 90 days? Why are these goals important to you? If someone's not working out currently, search for reasons why it would be important for them to do so. How long have you been thinking about starting an exercise program? What's prevented you from doing so far? And what made you call us or what made you call me today? And again, what's the most important goal for you to accomplish in the next 90 days? Why? Ask questions that are imaginatively provocative, such as, have you ever considered what it would be like to be in the best shape of your life? Have you ever considered what it would be like to have an outstanding body? Have you ever considered what it would be like to walk out the front door with incredible energy and confidence? Have you ever considered what it would be like taking your family hiking, cross-country skiing? When are you thinking about starting a program? When do you think would be a good time for you to start making the changes you seek, and how committed are you to making that start? When inviting the person into the club, focus on how they feel, not what they think. Remember, the deciding factor at this point is going to be how they feel about coming in, not what they think about your program. As soon as possible, invite the person on the other end of the phone into your environment. Nothing is as convincing as personal experience. If they mention to you that currently they love group exercise, invite them to experience it in your environment and make sure you talk to them immediately after class. Sarah, from what you told me, it sounds like we have 2 classes open tonight that I believe you would completely enjoy. Can you see yourself spending time this evening in a positive, exciting environment, having fun while really doing something good for yourself? One class is at 6 and the other's at 8. Which one do you think you'll be attending? Often you'll receive certain comments that you can easily misinterpret as resistance. So what exactly do you do over there that's different from anyone else? How much does this cost? And I'm skeptical. Most of the time, this is nothing but a defensive tactic. It's the prospect's way of saying, I don't want to waste my time or have a bad experience. Please reassure me that I can trust you or that I'll have a good experience in your facility or with you. So, what exactly do you do that's different than anyone else? Here's a possible response. That's a very good question. I provide fun, individualized experience that allows you to get far more results in less time, and I do that in a safe, entertaining environment. Does that sound like what you're looking for? Notice that I answered the question and I handed it right back to the person to further the conversation. See, when the person on the other end of the phone responds with a question about price, like we talked about earlier, here's a couple of things you can respond with. Like we said before, that's an important question. Can I get to that in just a moment? Now, if the discussion of price comes up in the very beginning of the inquiry, it's not positioned against the value that they stand to receive. Now, the more rapport you have built and the more value you demonstrate over the phone, the more the price seems like a wise investment other than a cost. Now, if you haven't built any value, price always seems like just a cost. However, if somebody brings up price again in the conversation and they say, well, no, just tell me the price, then tell them the price. I can't emphasize this more. It's disrespectful, not to mention really annoying, to continually, blatantly deflect a direct question. So if somebody says, well, how much does this cost? Trainer would say, well, that's an important question. Can I come back to that in just a moment? And the person responds by saying, well, no, I just want to know the price. You could say something like, well, depending on the services that we decide on together, you can expect to pay between X and X per session. What I would suggest is that in order for you to make an intelligent decision, we invite you in for an orientation tonight. And after that, we could talk about whether or not you even feel that this facility or me is exactly right for you. Person comes in and says, well, I'm skeptical. A response to that could be, well, that's understandable. When you're making a decision that's important to you. What exactly are you skeptical about? And maybe we can resolve it. Another thing you could say is, well, what I'm in a position to do is invite you in to experience what we have to offer for yourself. That way you can make an intelligent decision. How do you feel about that? The most important thing you could do is reassure them that if and when they decide to come into your facility or hire you as a trainer, they'll be receiving more than expertise. If you commit to yourself and our company, I'll commit to you. Don't be afraid to say something like, I'll give you the very best that I have, and we will become a partnership in the achievement of your goals. See, after you make them the offer to come in and experience your facility or experience meeting you personally, if for whatever reason they don't want to take that next step, that's okay. Just be polite, respectful, and thank them for their time. You can say something like this, well, I can see you might not be ready, or this might not be the time to take the next steps with me, so I'm going to let you go. But I just want to thank you for your interest, and if there's ever anything I can do to serve you, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call me.